Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I love you. Sending you a very big virtual hug wherever you are on the earth plane in this now moment. All right, so I want to remind us again of what's going on here. Again, we can't hear this enough. Here you go. Regardless of what the external reality looks like, this is how an entire human collective shifts. So it might not be what we expect. It might not be what we want. It might not be the way in which we would like it to unravel. It may be the exact way we want it to unravel. But this is how we slowly click and move from one frequency to a little bit higher frequency to a little bit higher frequency. Sometimes we're going to see things that make it seem like it's not clicking into these higher states. So I'll remind you of what happens when we move into higher states of consciousness. The shadow and the underbelly of the whole entire collective, which you are a part of. We are all a part of the entire human collective. We are not separate from it. But when we begin to shine more light or hold higher states of consciousness, it impacts the entire field that you are standing in because you are part of it. And when more high frequency light is being held in an entire collective field, the consciousnesses that are part of that collective field that are in lower states, nothing wrong with that. It's part of how the third dimension works. There are lower states of consciousness, higher states of consciousness. It's called a spectrum of consciousness. It's not right, it's not wrong. It is how energy works. It's how the quantum field works. So when humanity begins to hold higher frequencies, the lower frequency consciousnesses begin to be seen because the light begins to accentuate it. And so we have to begin to get comfortable with seeing that which we're not comfortable seeing. So instead of saying, I can't do this anymore, this is too much, it's getting too bad, it's getting too dark, it's getting too intense, switch your lens. Oh yeah, we're shining or holding higher states of consciousness in our body. The underbelly or the lower states of consciousness that we are a part of is beginning to be seen and felt more and more. So the wolves in sheep's clothing are going to start to get on center stage. Instead of being behind the scenes, now we're going to start to see center stage exactly what's been going on here. We're going to start to see it more and more and more. And remember, that's why you're here. You came here to watch this unravel. There's nothing scary or bad about it. There's nothing good or positive about it. It is just literally how an entire large collective of consciousness shifts. And because we are standing physically in a third dimensional field while simultaneously holding higher states of consciousness, becoming more energetic, with an expectation or attachment of how we want this process of evolution to go, we can get caught up in the emotionality of it. We can get caught up in belief systems around it. So my recommendation right now, as we continue to move forward in this most miraculous shift in the human collective, is that we recognize that we are a part of this collective. We recognize that our frequency impacts the entire collective. And the louder our light gets, the brighter it shines, i.e., the more you are holding yourself in higher states of consciousness, the brighter the light will be on the shadow, the wolves in sheep's clothing that we haven't seen, because they've been presenting themselves in this way that has seemed pretty, light, right? It looks very different when you start to shine the light on it. The shadow appears. And now we're like, oh my God, that was in the shadow. So the shadow that has been underground, so to speak, or behind the curtain, is now center stage. And it's going to continue to be center stage so that we can see it and we can choose to step out of it, holding higher states of consciousness. So what can you do in every now moment? Continue to remember the big picture. Here comes the shadow, center stage, getting louder and louder and louder. It's no longer in the shadows. It's now directly in front of us. Feels uncomfortable. Here we go, shifting and changing. And my role is to continue to hold higher states of consciousness. So let's talk really quickly about higher states of consciousness for a quick moment. Okay? A little spicy here, but it's important. When you're holding a higher state of consciousness, this is what it doesn't look like. No right or wrong, but this is what a higher state of consciousness looks like. You're not name calling. You're not belittling. You're not throwing humans under the bus. You're not telling a human they are wrong or bad or dark. You are allowing, here's what you are doing, okay? You are allowing for humans to have whatever expression they need to have. You are speaking your truth with compassion and empathy. You are holding a unified field, which means that all humans are part of this experience, having their own experience, and all I'm responsible for is my experience. You are allowing yourself to feel whatever you feel without an attachment or judgment. Here's what you're not doing. You're not judging yourself or attaching to an expectation. Here's what you're not doing. You are not becoming a victim and blaming others for your reality. Here's what you are doing. You're looking at you and any trauma that is unhealed and courageously feeling it. Here's what you are doing. You're doing your best to have compassion and empathy for every other human that is navigating their now moment. You're staying present. You are not perpetuating a divide. I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. But instead, here's my truth, and I'm going to speak my truth 1,000 times over because it's my truth, and I deserve to speak my truth. You realize that you're sovereign, which means no one can do anything to me, and I'm free. The only way you become sovereign and free is recognizing that which has kept you from it, meaning the external systems that may have been telling you otherwise. You come home to you. Higher states of consciousness is knowing that you always have a choice. You are always choosing in every now moment. Higher states of consciousness is recognizing that you're not responsible for how anyone else is being. You allow them to be. Whether you agree with them or like what they're doing, the only way to shift as a unified field is to allow humans to have their expression and experience while they're shifting, and not perpetuating a divide by saying, this is the way you do it, and if you don't do it this way, you're doing it wrong. This is a bad way. These are bad experiences to have. Bad behaviors to have. The more we allow ourselves to express ourselves through our frequency and allow others to express themselves through our frequency, holding our truth, holding compassion, holding for empathy, holding knowingness, the more we will shift as one unified field. So pay attention. Pay attention to higher states of consciousness within yourself and within others. Constantly ask yourself, am I in a higher state of consciousness or not? No big deal if you're not. Many, many, many now moments, I'm not in a higher state of consciousness, meaning that I am allowing myself to experience lower states, which is fine. It's part of being multidimensional. It's part of it. When I watch other people behave, I can feel into their states of consciousness. I don't judge it, I just recognize it. When you judge other people, tell other people that they need to be doing this or that, or they should be feeling this or that, you're only perpetuating a divide. This is how we shift. We're shifting, all of us, and we all get to shift in our own unique ways. There is no right, there is no wrong, but consciousness is experienced very differently based on its frequency, and a lower state of consciousness is experienced differently than a higher state of consciousness. It's felt differently, it's seen differently, the behaviors are different. This isn't about duality, a right or wrong around this. This is how energy and consciousness works. So instead of judging yourself and judging others, just constantly ask yourself, is this in an aligned state for me? Is this the behavior I want to have? And if I know that I'm here to shift an entire human collective, how do I want to be? And can I have compassion and empathy for myself when I'm not necessarily feeling, being, and doing the way I want to be? And then we choose, always choosing. So remember, what is unraveling is divine and perfect. It's exactly the way it is designed to be. It's how collective consciousness shifts. It's the evolution of the human consciousness. And we're going along for the ride. It's why you're here. So buckle in, love yourself, love humanity, hold compassion, hold joy, hold peace, hold the remembrance that you dropped in for this. And let's keep going. We got this. I love you.